Guys, I'm going to be giving you periodic updates on the Super Bowl during this episode. It'll be
the
great.
Purpose of that so that 2 weeks after all that's happened, Super Bowl fans can relive the experience again?
Yeah, through our podcast.
I'm really confused because I thought owls were like night creatures. Superb or not, I don't care.
No, this is the Super Bowl, not the superb owl.
I enjoyed that.
That's almost as good a burn as saying LOL sport ball.
Who said that? That's awesome.
I know, I'm so dumb for liking the things that I like, but if I criticize the things that you guys like, well...
Fuck your sports ball. Doctor Who is awesome.
You have bewitched me, body and soul, but I love you.
It'd be a privilege to have my heart broken by you.
I came here tonight because when you realize you want to spend the rest of your life with somebody, you want the rest of your life to start as soon as possible.
Some people are worth melting for.
Come on, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you.
John hates movies. Feelsbuary.
Nobody puts baby in a corner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to John Hates Movies, the movie review podcast, where my friends prevent me from bringing home a real dog and instead force me to watch movies. I'm your host, John Barrow, and we have with us today Eric Largent.
Tally-ho.
We have Chris Arsenault.
You have a real nice face.
We have Colin McMillan.
Catchphrase!
And we have James Barrup.
How come we ain't married yet? You're a disgrace. You're gonna ought to be ashamed of yourself. How come we all ain't married, man? Come on, what's the matter with you? How come we all ain't married yet?
James, you've been married.
Oh.
God.
Wow. Yeesh. Ooh. Ha.
Yeah, I feel a more appropriate movie might have been Apocalypse Now or something, because I'm having flashbacks.
The horror.
So, for those of you who are wondering what we watched Marty. This
Marty!
movie, this movie was released.
Go save your parents.
Not that one. We had this is a 1955 film.
1955,
starring Ernest Borgnine, Betsy Blair, and Esther Minciati. We'll go with that. Directed by Delbert Mann. The synopsis is: trapped by a smothering mother, middle-aged Marty's future looks bleak. But when this butcher meets a lonely teacher, suddenly everything is possible.
Everything is possible!
It's a little...
Everything is awesome!
It's a little bit of a misnomer, but, I'll take it. I guess this week we're going to start with James. James, how did you feel?
First off, I want to say I don't know what any of you guys are talking about.
God damn it.
None of us have talked about anything.
Do you want to say you don't?
But to be fair, it's still status quo for James. He's no idea.
Nobody mentioned anything about, like, a teenager who was, in college or school and thinks he's a vampire.
What?
George Romero.
Dawn of the Dead? Marty of the Dead?
It's a bit too obscure for you people, I guess.
I guess.
Yes.
It's a 1977 movie named Martin by George R. Romero.
Okay.
George A. Romero.
That one. Of
course.
Yeah, no.
Martin, the 1977 George Romero class.
See,
I'm looking at it right now. It's got 96% in
this
Tomatoes.
is why
always
we
right.
don't have James go first.
Now that everyone's thoroughly
Hey,
confused.
if there were more
Hey, to be
movies
fair,
that
yeah.
started with Mark,
Right, I
I
was
might
gonna
have
say.
a decent joke
What about
that you can all
my
pick up
favorite
on.
Martian?
It doesn't start with Mars.
You could have accidentally watched Mork and Mindy.
The only other option I had was Martians Go Home, which was a fucking Tom Arnold venture.
Oh, brilliant.
God.
A Tom Arnold joint.
Oh, yep. Right now, I feel like I'm smoking a Tom Arnold joint.
Oh, me too, James. Me too.
So, James, what'd you think?
All right. So, first off, I'll say that I enjoyed this movie.
Yeah.
Hooray.
Surprised.
Hooray.
I was pretty surprised. Well, I mean, not that surprised, because I do like, movies with charm and heart, and I have no aversion to watching a
Hey, whoa, I thought that was
older
John's
movie.
thing.
It might just be a Bear Up thing.
Bear.
Well,
It's a
no.
bear.
See, I like movies with heart and charm.
Oh,
right.
he
Not
likes
charm
movies
and
with
heart.
charm.
Right,
Right.
okay.
There is a difference.
Charm comes first for me. Yeah, absolutely. But anyway, I have no aversion to watching older movies as well, as long as they have a decent pace to them. And this movie wasn't really that slow.
Not at all.
Yeah, like, even though it was only pretty much a day and a half total, it wasn't, like, there was enough happening in each scene that it made you feel like it was ticking along. Yeah, I turned it on yesterday. My girlfriend was going to do something different, but she sort of got sucked into the movie with me. And it's just kind of cool. I like how Marty is actually like a very moral character. I mean, I think we've all kind of been in Marty's shoes before, where it's like, woe is me, how come nobody likes me?
Dude,
I'm a nice
man,
guy,
Whoa, yeah, no, I can't relate to
am
Marty
Marty's
at
shoes.
all.
I know, I was like, boy, way to put a fine point on it,
Yeah,
John.
I know, yeah. I have an exact note regarding John picking this movie, like having me in mind.
Oh God, no.
Not just you, Eric.
Yes.
This is.
I was like 34 and never been married, huh?
Right.
Wow, that sucks.
I'm a short, stocky, kind of ugly guy, and I can't get a date. Oh shit!
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, this was kind of a bit of a shot across the bow, but that's okay.
It's just kicking off feelsbuary with heavy feels.
I just wanted to
he wanted to make sure we were all in our place.
Yeah, he needed to bring us down before he built us back up, I guess.
Yeah, if we get built back up, we'll just see. But I don't know, not much to say about this movie. I never heard about it before. I liked how when the guy approached him in the dance hall and was like, "I'll give you $5," I honestly thought that was what was going to start the movie.
Yeah,
Me too.
Yeah.
And I thought, fuck, that's going to be awful cheesy.
And if this was a modern movie, if they remade it in
would
modern
have.
times, yeah, it would have, because that would have built the conflict in the third act, where she would have found out that he got paid, $25 to take her out that night.
Yeah, but that would be so cheesy and bad.
They
Yeah.
stealthily did remake this movie, and I'll come back to that later.
Okay. Yeah, he just stood off. He was like, no, and he stuck to his guns. And like, anytime there was something easy for him to kind of do the slightly more fun thing, but the slightly wrong thing, he decided not to do it. And that was like really cool.
Hey, Marty, these girls are money in the bank.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I have morals.
Right. But
What
you
the
could
fuck
have
does money in the
sex.
bank mean? I mean, come
It's a
on.
sure thing.
Okay, there were a lot of shit in here that was implied.
Oh yeah.
Like, severely implied. Yeah. But like,
Well, it was 50s. They couldn't go out and say, "Oh, she gonna bang you hard." But then, like,
oh yeah,
Sorry, I'll go into that later.
that's exactly what he was saying. He's like, so okay, that scene. There were 3 guys in the car that you could see, and 1 girl that you could see.
Oh no!
Was that what was going? Or did they have like 3 girls?
They had 3
and
girls
2
and
guys?
2 guys. 3 girls and 2 guys.
Ah, okay.
3 girls and 2 guys.
3 girls with 2 guys.
Twist.
I
Ralph
did
was
not
a woman.
like. I mean, I understand the limitations that they probably had with budget and like cinematography back then, so that you couldn't exactly see what the makeup was there. But I mean, they were implying so much shit there that I didn't even get the hint that there was 3 girls and 2 guys.
I was actually trying to figure that out myself. I was like, it doesn't look like there's enough holes for enough sausages. What does Ralph have in mind here?
Tag team,
No,
brah.
those cars back in the 50s were big. You could like sneak a girl into wherever. Like
He just had
they're all in the trunk.
Yeah.
right.
They're gonna go see a drive-in movie, so she had to be. They didn't want to pay more.
Right. Ralph's good with money. He's a catch.
Because it's a sure thing,
Money in the bank.
In the bank.
He's
Money
a
in the
banker.
bank. even the next day when he was talking to Richard or something, when he was like, well, what'd you do with the girl? And he's like, I just talked. I mean, it was obvious that like Richard was getting really bored with the conversation, but he still didn't. Ralph. He still didn't make up shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
To the detriment of her.
Right.
Yeah, he kept her honor intact.
Mm-hmm. Even though he kissed her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Actually, he really downplayed it.
And
because he's a gentleman.
Correct.
Is a gentleman. Absolutely.
Marty's a gentleman.
Yep.
Even if he really pushed that awkward kiss and then had like a huge like argument with her about just wanting a lousy kiss, total gentleman.
He is a gentleman.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that whole scene sucked.
Yeah, it did. That scene really sucked. I agree.
It did suck, but I mean, it's completely understandable.
Oh yeah. I think they just could have done something else to like imply that he, socially awkward at this point because he's 34 and hasn't really been too involved. But I mean, I'm just saying, like they could have done that better. I
think,
yeah.
Probably. Like the thing that I liked about this movie was how everybody like wore their feelings on their sleeves and were very like completely open about it.
Mm-hmm.
Who the fuck nowadays admits that they cries, especially a dude?
Yeah, a dude who's a butcher.
He cries all the time.
A veteran who's a butcher.
Emo kids.
Yeah.
On their first date, he's like, yeah, I think about offing myself all the time.
He didn't say all the time. He just said that he's done it, thought about
it. But as a Catholic, that's
it
a
was
sin to
shameful.
even think about.
Yeah, man.
Right.
Marty just laid it all on the table.
Well, he did.
He was not
like,
fucking
he
around.
pretty much went all for either you're gonna like me for who I am or go fuck yourself.
Which is something to be
Best
said
way
for
to
that.
go.
Like, if he was going to scare her away, he didn't want it to be 3 months later.
Right, he's 34. He can't run that risk.
Yeah,
well, and honestly, I think that this movie, for its age and its time, is very, very honest. I think part of the reason that this won Best Picture is because it shows a real honest slice of life kind of deal. I don't know. I really feel that this movie. It's been a while since I've been that awkward, but I think that I seem to recall that when I was awkward and I didn't know how to talk to, say, women.
John, it's been a while since you've needed to be that awkward.
Right.
Because if things changed, it's, things are different now.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and let me tell you, as having come out of long relationships that you thought you were going to be, I thought I was going to be in forever, you find the awkward again because you're like, how do I do this? You're pretty and seem not shitty. How do
I talk to that?
Can I?
Yeah, but I mean that whole holding forth.
You're pretty
thing,
and not shitty. You know how to speak, right?
Like giving it all up on the first date, not like the sexing, but giving it all up on the first date, like all the feels and all that kind of stuff. That's
you can't do that.
No, you don't want to do that.
Well, no, you don't want to because it drives people away.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it
depends on how you do it.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah,
having been single very recently, people do that a lot, and it's very. You got to pay attention to sort of the context of how you're meeting, and it's really different in the world of online dating. What I've noticed is in the world of online dating, people are much more likely to front load all their issues. Just so you know, I'm an alcoholic. Just so you know, I've been abused. Just so you know, blah, 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 blah. But when you meet somebody like at a party or whatever, or through friends or something, you spend a little bit more time together first, kind of getting to know each other because you're not automatically and necessarily gearing up to potentially date somebody. So maybe once you've hung out a few times and it's like, oh, I think I'm actually really interested in this person. Well, okay, well, this person trusts me. I trust them. I think that I can maybe level with them about some of these issues. It's really completely different depending on how you meet the person. It's also the idea that with the information age, you can just literally go out and meet another person in an hour. You can go right back to the dating site or Tinder or wherever whatever your medium
or in
is.
some cases while you're on the date.
Just whip out your phone and say it's a text from your mom and set up something else. But you have thousands more people at your fingertips now, such that if somebody front loads all their issues with you and you go, that sounds like a lot of work, you can just go find somebody that's less work.
Right. Well, or the other side, you can find your niche fetish.
Yeah.
And, oh, she's needy, needs work. Okay, I'm good.
Likewise, if you find somebody that's really spectacular, but you are a lot of work, they're going to go find somebody else.
Well, that's absolutely horrifying. So, James,
go buy Millie some fucking flowers.
So, James,
I apologize for nothing.
Let's get back to the movie.
Sorry,
so,
James.
what else did you find?
So I guess I will say that that's one of the great things about this movie is because it's so honest. It really highlights the differences between dating now and dating before the internet, or even like solid singles in the paid. I don't know. I don't even know what the hell I'm saying. Before technology really fucked up the dating scene.
You mean enhanced?
But, yes, enhanced the dating scene.
No, it fucked it up. Oh, God.
Was anybody else surprised by the fact that like nobody really seemed to be that put out by the fact that it was like 1 o'clock in the morning? You know,
Yeah, I was a little
weird.
surprised by that.
Hey, it's the city that never sleeps.
Yeah.
I guess
Like
so.
I usually go to bed before midnight, for God's sake.
Yeah. I was like, I was kind of like, what?
Yeah, and the whole subplot with like his mother and his stepmother and stuff, like that made a lot of sense. Like back in the day, because that's all women had. It really kind of highlights how things are different now. I guess to sum it up, it was interesting. Very good movie. I liked how his friends wanted him to date just so that they could have fun with hanging out with him, but they never actually wanted him to date. They just wanted to hang out with him and have him be chipper, which was awesome. And the last thing that I'll say is that is a really fucked up spot for a sink in the middle of the upstairs hallway.
That reminded me of those sinks in those shitty hotel rooms where like there's a sink outside of the bathroom.
Yeah.
Fucking weird.
It's weird, yeah.
Not that weird. It means that someone can get. It was probably more popular back then because it means someone can get ready while someone else is using the bathroom.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Makes a lot of sense.
Maybe that's where they kept the wash like basin in the past.
Right. That
the wash
previously that probably was what it was. It was originally not a plumbed fixture. It was just a wash basin.
Okay. Yeah.
I can get that. Yeah, I can get behind that. So let's go with Eric. Eric, what do you think about Marty?
Okay, well, I had never heard of Marty going into your picking this movie for us to watch. I had seen Ernest Borgnine in things. Like, obviously, we had watched
Airwolf.
I was thinking more like McHale's Navy. Like, anyone that's watched like TV Land has seen Ernest Borgnine and McHale's Navy. And we watched an Ernest Borgnine movie with Convoy. So, Dirty Lyle. So I really didn't know what I was, what to expect going into this. Just that John had prefaced this all, that this was a movie that plain people got to act in and got to, this was the first opportunity for plain people in Hollywood, kind of.
Yep.
So watching this movie, the first thing that I noticed and wrote down is there's the scene early in the movie where Marty is making a phone call to the kind of heavyset girl that he sat behind in the movie theater that his friend is kind of cajoling him into calling her. And so he makes this call and he's like, "Yeah, do you remember me? Yeah, I'm the butcher. Yeah, so do you want to maybe go see a movie tonight? No? Okay. Well, what about the week after that? And okay, what about the week after that?" Like, I don't know, that whole like phone call scene is really well done.
I agree.
Like, it's really good.
Great scene.
And it nailed me right in the heart because I've had that exact scene 3 or 4 or 5 times, and it's just like, oh god, I don't even like this girl, and she's turning me down,
dude.
It's like,
and Borgnine killed it, man.
Yeah, he did. He nailed it.
He killed it.
That's a great scene. It's really good. It's perfect.
Very good.
Like that scene will be relevant for the end of time. Like, that scene is timeless. It really is. The next thing I wrote down is, holy shit, this is hitting close to home. So, like, when Marty was having the conversation with his mother at the dinner table, and she was like, "Why don't you go out and find a nice girl? Well, I don't want you hanging around here tonight. Why, you need to go find a nice girl." Like, luckily, I have parents that like me for who I am and don't give me a hard time, but, like, all of the self-conscious things that Marty said about himself during that scene are all things that I've thought about myself in the past, and that it's like it's hard to get over feeling like that about yourself and feeling that feeling like you're worth something all the time. And Marty's dealing with that, and I've dealt with that. So that scene was hitting pretty close to home. And then the next note is, don't let this review become a woe is me shit show.
So I thought the same thing when I was watching the movie. I was like, careful.
Right. So we're done with the woe is Eric, because this is a really good movie and we don't need to talk about how I'm doing. So the next note is, fuck you, John. This movie's going to kill me. Like, really, there are things that happen in this movie that hit so close to home for me that it's just like, yeah, Marty, like he finally works up the nerve to go talk to the girl at the dance hall, and she's like, well, her friend is like, yeah, I'll go dance with you, thin, tall, handsome Marty friend, but her friend isn't having any, I don't feel like dancing right now, so sorry. A lot of times you can ask and the answer is just no, and that's how it is. Yeah. So a lot of the scenes in that dance hall are single cuts and of just the camera running through like bodies moving on the dance floor. And so I noticed that, and I looked it up, and this was Delbert Mann's first ever feature film. Like, Delbert Mann was a rookie director, or at least in a feature, going into this movie. And there are a lot of scenes in this movie that are really well shot. Like, this was a well shot movie. Like, the camera moves, it follows people on tracks. Like, I don't know how hard that was to do in 1955, but I know it's probably still hard for people to do now. And this is a well shot movie. So really, Marty is about a couple of different things. It's about a guy realizing that he's worth it, he's a good person, and that, he can kind of get what he wants out of life. And it's also kind of about, sometimes your friends are just assholes, and you have to, or like the people that you're talking to and the people that are giving you advice in life are just wrong. And you need to like follow what you think, what you want to do, what you believe in. Like owning a butcher shop, that's a good career. Dating this girl, she's not a dog. Your mom's wrong. Your cousin's wrong about you opening a butcher shop. Like, sometimes you just have to take what you want out of life to be more important what other people tell you that you should want out of life. Like, at the last scene where Marty ignores his friends and just goes, look, what, we're doing the exact same thing. We're just standing around talking about what we want to do it tonight. And you're keep on going on about, oh yeah, 72nd Street. We got to go down to 72nd Street. Like, that's going to be some kind of magic bullet for relationships or something. Yeah, we should just go to 72nd Street. You got to beat them off with a stick. Like, sometimes, fuck your friends. They don't always know what's best for you. You gotta think on your own and do your own thing.
Did you get the idea that Ange was suggesting hookers on 72nd?
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah,
he's talking about
72nd. Yep. So like after watching this movie, I got on Google Maps and I looked up 72nd Street. It's the only road that actually goes in that area from the west side to the east side of Manhattan. It's the only road that goes through Central Park east to west. So I don't know what part of 72nd Street they're talking about. But yeah, he was definitely mentioning like, yeah, we can go up there and we can get laid. Like, that's what he was talking about. I actually really like this movie. This was a movie that I enjoyed watching, that I would watch again. Like, there were little bits in the score. I think back in the 50s, people were a lot more deliberate with their movie score. And in this movie, a lot of times the composer, like, going into a scene, he would know that this needed to be a heavier, more dramatic scene. And before, like, heavy dramatic things start, you're getting heavy dramatic music. So that kind of cued you off a little early as to what was going to be happening in the scene. But it was still well done. It didn't take me out of the movie. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed watching Marty. It was a good movie, and it hit pretty close to home. But we're not going to talk about that. So yeah, I really liked it, and I would recommend it to anyone.
All right. So, Chris, what do you got for us?
I have a few things. Okay, Eric hit the nail on the head with this is a lot of, you have people telling you what you're supposed to be doing, people telling you what you're supposed to be, in life, where you're supposed to be at, what you're supposed to have accomplished at this point in life, and having their expectations of you. But the reality is you got to ignore those if those don't fit to your expectations or your wants or your life. That's totally true. And then there's the other thing where, he's constantly being, life has kind of dealt him this, I don't know for what reasons he's, been passed over and over and over by women or whatnot. But, throughout the movie, he's a nice guy. He's a genuine guy. He takes care of people. And, he looks a little rough, but Christ, I've seen uglier people with people.
I think maybe back in the 50s, being as heavy set as he was might have been more of a problem than it is now.
Right. Well, that's a thing too, because he calls that girl up and says, "I'm the stocky one." I'm like, stocky? I'm like, because he's not really fat. He's a little bit, stocky. I'm like, he's not that bad. Then he's like, "I'm the fat ugly one." I'm like, what the hell, bro? Yeah, hey, I'm that fat ugly loser. You wanna go on a date? Maybe see a movie and stuff. You won't have to look at me.
Yeah, that was tough, man. That was a tough scene.
Well, the same holds true for today, is that even if you're ugly or you got a horrible style, you can overcome that with charisma. If you feel like jolly and great, if you act jolly and great all the time, even if you feel you are not, then you'll do better than if you actually let your feelings out.
That's just being, you can more with honey than vinegar. If you act positive and upbeat, people will tend to like you more than if you're acting all morose and depressed, even though you feel put down upon, because every time you make an attempt, when they're like,
yeah, some people are better for faking it for longer. That's pretty much all it is.
And that's the thing, I don't really feel like he was very negative. I felt he was pretty upbeat for the most part. he had his down moments and whatnot, but I felt he was fairly upbeat. But what really got me, and it was less about the dating part like that. That's the obvious thing to look at in this film. But what really got me is because he has been single for so long, and because he's been in this situation where, all right, he's single, living at home, and he has his other single friends. He's built this. He's kind of fit himself into this scenario where he's that dependable guy that's around, So for his mother and his friend are the two people who see this at the worst,
and they don't want him to step out.
They're so focused on things maintaining the status quo because it would damage their comfort levels that they don't want him to be happy. And it's not that they don't want him to be happy; it's just that they don't want things to change because it would mean things would change for them too. And that's one of those things is more like. I think that one, for me personally, hits close to the head where, or that, people, you're in these, just generalized friendships or relationships, and people get so used to just you being around that they take you for granted and expect you to be around. And when you're not, then you're a bad guy for not being around.
Yeah.
It's like you never gave any real indication. You never really made anything better of what was the situation. You never really cared when I was there, but when I'm not, suddenly that's a problem, and that's my fault.
Yeah.
And that seemed like, honestly, that part of it at the end there with his friend who's like, I was looking all over you, and you were some dame, and his friend starts just bashing. She looked like she was 50. I'm like, okay, she looked like she was in her. She did not look 29. She looked like she was in her 30s. But
she was a good-looking girl.
I thought she was quite pretty. When she smiled, she was very pretty.
I thought she was very pretty.
When she smiled, but I think she had definitely had her frown lines. I'm not trying to say anything disrespectful to her or how she looked. But and I'm sure they overplayed that she's supposed to not look pretty or whatever. But she looked.
They definitely overplayed that she wasn't supposed to look pretty. Like I thought she was very pretty.
But I feel they did the same thing for Ernest Borgnine. I don't think he was. I don't think he was that. I don't really know how to say this. I don't think he was that much of an ugly guy. I think
he was a little heavy and he had bad teeth.
He's a heavy.
Well, he has bad teeth.
Right. I would say that he is goofy looking, and if you look at his movies later on, he gets goofier looking. And I can say it more as that.
Right, yeah.
But
them eyebrows.
Yeah. But I don't know.
But I think if you were to and this would be hard to do because they do this with all of the people that are in Marty. If you pair Marty up to another movie that was released in 1955, that would be a stark comparison for somebody who was like going to films all the time. Like people who are going to see,
Ginger Rogers and Fred Astaire.
Yeah, or Shirley MacLaine or any of those people.
There's a list of 4 actors that Ernest Borgnine beat out for Best Actor in 1955, and it was like Frank Sinatra and 3 other like beautiful looking people. It really was.
Well, because beautiful doesn't mean good actor, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Well, not when you're up against a performance like Marty. I mean,
that said, the movie itself was pretty good. I could bitch and moan about things, but nothing stood out enough that like I'd really complain about. And I do really like that they didn't do the cheap, oh no, she's going to be upset because you took the $5 thing. That he stood up, that he was a good all-around guy, and he didn't let that. And even later on, when the friend's like, come on, we'll go with these girls, come on. I think the only thing that bothered me was, like, when everyone started talking ill of her, and he started, backpedaling like, God, am I seeing this wrong? Is she, like, Hold
on. So Ernest Borgnine in 1955 beat out Frank Sinatra, James Dean, Spencer Tracy, and James Cagney for the Academy Award.
Holy crap.
Yes, holy crap. Like, that's a real win. Like,
yes, that is a win.
That's not a soft
James
win.
James Cagney and Spencer Tracy, they got chops too.
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, he doesn't stand up for her, and that kind of irritated me. But then at the end, he finally does. All right, no. We're doing the same fucking thing we do every other night. You guys don't know what you want to do. What you do want to do is like kind of unimportant. Let's play cards. Let's go see a movie. Like that's not going to be lasting.
Street.
Yeah, and get some get some ladies.
Right.
And then and that was cool. And I like that he did that. And then he goes off and makes the call. But that smart ass. What's wrong with you? You ain't married. You ain't got a girl. What's wrong with you at the end? That's supposed to be kind of smarmy and smart-assy and funny, and then the end,
because that's what he's getting at the butcher shop.
What it does, he's getting that constantly. But for him to like even jokingly throw that back out into the friends who probably in a pretty much same situation, that's a hell of a dick move.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Like I really disliked that line. I love everything else about that, though. That one, that line is the only part I take issue with.
It was a little out of character.
It is.
Yes.
I don't know if it was necessarily out of character with the place that Marty was at that point in the movie when he's finally making the phone call. I think you're right, though. It is a dick move, and I think he was just fucking fed up. He was just angry. Because one of the things from my own life that I can say that really speaks to me about that this movie really speaks to is basically this. The type of friends that you collect when you are depressed are also depressed people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was going to comment on that same thing.
Yeah. For some reason, I mean, I've been there. I've been where Marty's been, where, like, you finally are just fed up and you want to make a change, and your friends all of a sudden just fucking get on your shit about it. You know what I mean? And try and hold you back because of the types of friends that you had collected when you were in a bad place. So that I really appreciated. But anyway, Chris, do you have any more that you want to say about this movie at this time?
Nah, I think I'm good.
Colin, what do you got for us?
So, we have discussed the content of Marty pretty in depth through everybody else's reviews, but the things I want to talk about Marty actually are from more of a cinematographic standpoint, because a lot of things I've watched a lot of classic movies. I really enjoy them. And one thing I always expect when I'm firing up an old black and white film is back in the day, movies were shot more like when you're shooting a live performance of a play. A lot of wide shots with multiple characters talking back and forth, long stretches, long takes with lots of lines, such that these actors have to memorize huge blocks of dialogue at a time to get through them. The first scene, you enter in the butcher shop, and you've got this establishing shot, sort of behind the shoulder of the customer's perspective, and Marty's talking. And then suddenly it cuts, and it's behind Marty's shoulder, and the other person's talking. And this jumped out at me right away, because that was really uncommon
I didn't think we were ever going to see that lady's face on the screen.
Exactly. So what you're seeing in Marty is you're seeing a major jump forward in the evolution of film, which for me watching it was actually really exciting, and it stood out through the whole thing. One of the reasons that phone conversation scene is so awesome and nails you so hard is because they do the slow zoom.
Yeah.
Slow zoom, and it gets really personal because it starts with, him and the room and everything around him, but man, oh man, when it gets really to that real intense feeling part, you are right in Borgnine's face, and you get to see all of his acting up close, and it's very intense. So, and they do a lot of those techniques that have become really commonplace in film are happening all throughout this movie, which was made 60 years ago. So the first thing that jumped out about Marty for me is no wonder it won Best Picture. It's way ahead of its time.
Yeah, it was really well shot.
It was very strongly presented cinematographically. Like, just every scene has stuff like that. Like, it was mentioned the camera weaving between dancers and things like that. How awesome. And that was difficult to do in those days because cameras were not pocket sized. These shots took a lot of effort to set up, and some of them are involving cranes, and there's short segments of film that are cut together to present conversations on a much more personal level than was customary at this time. Everybody cites Citizen Kane as the movie where a lot of those techniques sort of started, but I think Citizen Kane did come out before Marty. I'm almost sure of it, but the guys that made Marty, they jumped right on that train.
Well, this was the time when this kind of stuff was being popularized by Hitchcock movies.
Okay, that totally
Hitchcock
makes
was
sense.
kind of the pioneer.
Yeah.
And so they brought what Hitchcock was doing to this slice of life genre, and it worked out amazing.
Yeah, it really it does, because these stories are very personal.
Mm-hmm.
Marty makes it very personal by utilizing these techniques. That phone scene was spectacular. I also really appreciated that Borgnine paced it just like a real conversation might be.
Yeah.
The stops and starts and the awkwardness and just
he
so
didn't
great.
go Bob Newhart. Like, Bob Newhart kind of rushed through.
Yeah. What's that you say?
Right.
You say you have a flat tire? You say you want me to come and get you? Nope.
Right.
Nothing like that.
Right.
The audience is able to fill in the blanks by dialogue that really would be pretty obvious by the reaction that Borgnine's giving you. Obviously, this girl is really brushing him off, and he's trying, but he knows what's going on, and you're just suffering right there with him through the whole thing. And yeah, that's rough. There's a couple of things that stood out to me, like kind of recurring motifs. Like you got the Irish women in the bar talking back and forth.
Oh yeah, that's great.
And they're just going back and forth, and then of course, oh no, she died. So she made it through, and the doctor was wrong. Oh no, she died. And then you've also got actually a very intense conversation between the mother and the aunt character about aging. Which was,
oh yeah.
Like, when Katerina is introduced, she's introduced as this sort of battle axe. Oh, Marty's horrible aunt, how awful. But that scene kind of turns that on its head, because you're expecting this, like, almost Marx Brothers, like, character of, the old curmudgeon-y lady that's going to be comic relief. And then she just busts out this monologue that's, like, really dour and dark. And it's like, man, this woman is suffering, too. She's not just mean. She is very conscious of the aging and the difference between her and these young, beautiful people that are in front of her face all the time, and she feels useless, and her life has completely lost momentum, and it's just tragic.
Once you're done raising your kids, and once you don't have a husband anymore, what else is there?
Yeah, she's like, I have no purpose. I'm just an old lady.
Right.
My favorite line in that scene, which knocks me on my feet every time, is "There is strength left in these hands."
Yeah, I thought those two women in that scene, both of them, just were fantastic. Yeah. That scene really jumped out to me.
This is like the OG Bechdel test movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
totally. Also, there's another great thing at work. We talked a lot about how Borgnine and Betsy Claire, neither of them are really unattractive. They're just normal.
Yes, they're both normal people.
And what I love is the way that the beautiful people are presented in this movie. Particularly the cousin and his wife. Tommy and his wife, whose name I can't remember now, when they're first introduced, they're like, "Oh man, we're in this really bad spot. This horrible old lady's making our life just miserable. Oh no, we're asking you, we're coming to you, and we're begging you, please help us." They're having a hard time, and you feel for them. But then the next scene with them, like with Katerina, she's like, you know what, this woman that my son married, she's awful. She's lousy and everything. And then, and so you get told that, but then later on, when they're both really frustrated, like suddenly a challenge has really been presented to Tommy and his wife. And they lose their shit, and they're yelling at each other and unraveling, and they're taking it out on everybody around them.
Like Tommy keeps talking about it, and then when she starts saying something, I don't want to talk about it.
They have no patience with anyone else or each other. The people closest to them, family and friends, and you get the idea that this is a pretty tight family. But man, oh man, like the beautiful people who've had it their way the whole time, the fairly affluent, good-looking, charismatic, wonder couple, they lose it.
But then comes the best line ever. No, you guys can fight anytime. I need this now.
Well,
they're in the middle of this fight, and he's trying to get information. Right. And that's beautiful.
Yeah. And of course, from Marty's perspective, it's like Marty's got a real dollars and cents measurable issue. And Tommy is
he wants to ask him about interest.
Yeah, and Tommy's the only person that he knows that can actually help him. He can help him now. And Tommy will just not, he's so invested in being a shit right now because he's upset, because things aren't going his way, because he's not getting his way. And so he just flips out, and it's like, will you relax for just a second, because I'm asking you something real here, and he can't even do it. The beautiful people.
Then he pisses all over his idea.
Exactly.
And Marty's got a great attitude about it too.
Yeah, he's like, all right, whatever,
Yeah. Which is the proper response. Okay, I guess you guys are dealing with something.
Yeah, right.
So...
Okay, you're obviously out of your mind right now. I'll talk to you later, bro.
Yeah.
Well,
and I also have to say that I feel for Tommy too, because it sucks living with two people that you love them both, but they can't stand each other.
I've been in that position too, and it's really rough. Tommy, it's not like Tommy's just a bad dude. You can see that he doesn't have the tools to deal with these challenges. Whereas Marty, that's his life, man. His life is people pooping on him and calling him names and tough choices and stuff that's no fun. He has the tools to deal with this stuff all day, and Tommy just doesn't. I thought that was some really strong writing. Another good one was Marty's been out all night with Clara, and he's sort of forgotten about Ange. And then Ange just comes hauling ass from down the street, and he's all mad at Marty, and he gives him a hard time, and he's
So I have to say, I found this bit really unbelievable, because I've never had a friend act completely rude to a girl I just started dating.
Oh, that's funny you should say that, James, because I've had some women that I had recently started dating, and I had a friend who was really awful about it every fucking time.
I can't imagine who we're talking about.
Well, I don't want to say any John names.
Oh, Johnny.
Well, she looked like she was 50.
Oh, she sounds awful.
She's a dog.
I was right about every single one of them.
But not for the reasons that you cited. You were only right by accident. I thought that the stuff that was happening with Ange and Marty and all of Marty's other bum friends afterwards, I was really surprised by that. I didn't expect that at all. But I thought that there was a really important dynamic that they're showing there, and you guys have already kind of hit it, where sometimes your friends are shitty. Sometimes they're not on your side at all, and your success makes them feel bad, and they have this reaction where they want to protect their own shit by putting down yours. I didn't expect that, but I appreciated exploring. I mentioned earlier that they stealthily remade this movie.
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
They called it The 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. I mean, they changed the thrust of it, but it's essentially the same story. You've got this guy who is perfectly nice with kind of a dope job, and like he's not like a stud. He's just kind of plain. And his friends are all trying to get him to do this their way. In this case, they've substituted marriage with sex.
Oh, yeah.
And through exploring that, you find out all of his friends are kind of miserable fucks. None of them know what they're doing. And so what he really ends up doing is just doing it his own way. He meets a really great lady. He does it the right way, and he finds happiness. It's like the same movie. They just cunningly adapted it so it made sense in the modern age. And the way to do that is use sex instead of marriage.
Well, sex instead of marriage in general is
usually... Yeah, and I actually really liked the 40-Year-Old Virgin as well. I thought it was funny. And
did they actually use the rights for Marty to make that?
No, I don't think so.
I'm sure they did.
I don't think so. Yeah. It really stuck out to me because both movies have the same theme of cynicism versus sentiment, where you've got these people that deeply believe in like real sentimental connection, and they're living in a very cynical environment. And in the end, they both choose, sentiment sort of wins the day in the end.
I can see it.
Yeah, I can see that as well.
Yeah. Cool. I thought that was, I don't know, I thought that was interesting. It was a really interesting comparison. To wrap it up, those of you at home who won't get to see Marty, allow me to give you a synopsis of the film in the form of song. Let me tell you all a story about a man named Marty. Swinging and single, life was one big party. Living with his ma in a busted old house. Watch TV because he don't have a spouse. Dance hall devoid of hole. He met a teacher who was totally dope. He wouldn't take a bribe of a mere $5, but he still takes it out because he gives no fucks. Forgets a little bit, then hit the town. He tries to kiss her, but she ain't down. Clara likes Marty because he's full of heart. She's gotta go home, but they don't want to part. Tells her parents about this dude she met, while Marty's ma gets real upset. Marty gets a kiss because his skills are sick, and Clara keeps it classy because she's Catholic. They're bound to make kids who are hale and hearty. They got me in the fields with the main man Marty.
Yeah!
That Colin McMillan, man, he's a hell of a writer.
Yeah, Colin McMillan from the fucking streets.
Thank you.
Colin, that
was great. Marty.
Wow, I think that's got to be a first somewhere. I don't think anybody's ever rapped about this movie before.
Probably not.
Average Marty.
So, I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. I really like this movie. I have seen it a couple of times. You're right. This movie isn't for everybody, and some people would be able to watch it once and really appreciate it. Some people it might bore the shit out of. Other people's, whatever. But this does have excellent pacing. The acting
and this never got really slow
really
ever.
No, it's got great pacing for a movie of its time.
In the 50s.
Yeah. And, I did not feel the time passing like I do with some of these other old school films that we watched. The acting is stellar. You get a really good, like I said, I think the movie's really honest. I think it shows a lot about what happens when we let fear drive us. Because that's all that's happening to the mother at the end is that she's just terrified.
She doesn't want to lose him.
Yeah, she's a nice lady. She just gets it in her head that
what Katerina tells her earlier, really sticks in her craw.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily wrong, which is exemplified in that scene where Katerina tells her about he's going to want to sell the house, and she's like, I had 6 children here. This is my house. It's not getting sold. And literally the scene right after, Marty's talking about selling the house. Because it's falling apart.
Yep.
Right. But he's just doing it kind of as an aside, not like a threat.
No. We're going to sell this dump, you old hag.
And I just got to say, we focused a little bit on Borgnine's performance, probably because we're all men and we've all been there. But I'll tell you, while that hits me in the gut real hard, it doesn't even compare to the close-up that they do on her face when she's sitting with her parents and watching Ed Sullivan when the day's pretty much already gone and he never called.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good. I'm glad you talked about that, Johnny.
That, man.
And the fact, what really sells it is that she has this half smile because, she's putting on a good face.
Well, and she knew it.
But and she's got water in her eyes, like the tears that have not spilled yet. It's just brilliant. It's just
Though, to be fair, he did say that there was just as much of a chance that he wouldn't be able to because he might be busy.
Right.
But
I'm
just saying. So it's not like, she at least had enough that she could have rationalized, oh, well, he must have had to do that other thing and blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Yeah, but you know what? Today's technology, you can text someone in like a fucking second. So why don't people take that fucking second to tell you what the fuck is going on instead of making you call them
now that they
and be like,
then.
bro, where are you? Or what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, sorry, totally can't. I'm already here, and you're a fucking asshole.
Human nature hasn't changed.
Yeah, no, I think this is a fun movie, and I have, like I said, I have seen it a couple of times, and I think it's really, really worth watching. So if you get a chance, watch it. Although we here at John Hates Movies do know that you don't actually watch the films that we watch. You just listen.
At least not always.
At least not always. But if you get a chance, if you're sitting there, you're not doing anything, and you're thinking about John Hates Movies, then maybe you'll remember, hey, wait a minute. Those guys, they recommended Marty, and I think I should watch it.
You should watch it.
And they're never wrong.
Isn't it about hip-hop music or something?
We're not ever wrong. This is a good movie.
This is
a good movie, and Johnny's right. You should watch it.
At least watch it once.
We'll be right back after these messages. It's Valentine's Day, a time of happiness and sharing with your loved ones. But Vlarf knows that not everyone has someone special in their life.
What can I do?
I'm so lonely.
For times like these, Vlarf Pharmaceuticals has the answer. It's Solofran. Solofran targets the area of the brain that feels love and kills it.
Makes you not have an urge to interact with other humans anymore.
I've been lonely for my entire 30 years. Solofran makes me feel great.
I used to get really depressed whenever I couldn't find anyone to yiff with. Now I just don't care.
Ever since I graduated college, I've been held up in a cabin in Montana, in the Pine Barrens, writing my manifesto. I have never had time for dating. Now I don't feel the urge to date.
I see more colors with Solofran.
I have never taken Solofran, but I have learned how to make friends with bears. In the future, we will all bow to our bear leaders. They are the only ones that are pure.
Solofran turned off the part of me that craves human contact.
Now I only crave human flesh.
Side effects may include uncontrolled crying jacks, enhanced dogmatism, astral projection to Dimension X, faster uneven heart rate, jerky muscle movements, feeling jittery, diarrhea that is watery or bloody, muscle cramps or headache, trouble concentrating, memory problems, weakness, loss of appetite, feeling unsteady, confusion, hallucinations, fainting, seizures, or swelling. Less serious side effects and are more likely to occur, such as weight changes, nausea, vomiting, mild diarrhea, gas, stomach pain, dizziness, drowsiness, tired feeling, joint problems, such as insomnia, explosive dry mouth, report.
I'm sorry, Chris. I can't help it.
I think you're all on separate tracks this time.
Ask your doctor if Solofran is right for you. Solofran. Why feelings? Love bad. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the game. I am hosting the game today, and we have a very special treat for you. The game this time around is going to be Bad First Dates.
No.
Oh, God.
Yes,
No.
it is, because it's feelsbuary.
God, that's too relevant.
Whoever has the worst first date story, or the best, or it could be completely arbitrary, we'll get to choose next week's movie. Next week's feelsbuary movie. So who wants to go first?
So, a while back, one of my stints as a single man, I was doing the online dating thing, and I went out with this woman, and like she seemed real cool at first. We talked, had a lot in common, and we were going to go out and yada yada. And I picked her up, and she first of all was dressed very strangely. She was wearing a snood, for one thing, also known as a snood, which is sort of like a hairnet that's made of thick cords of yarn. It's like a head covering from the Renaissance, and she's wearing this really strange, shapeless dress-like thing. Might have made it herself. I don't know. I feel like she was going for original, like pixie dream girl, like outside the box. Look how interesting I am. She made me take her to a vegetarian place.
That should have been your clue right there.
Completely against eating at a vegetarian place, but they're typically expensive because they cater to a niche market, and they can be, because if you're a vegetarian, you gotta go there. And so that was fine. And then she kept asking me these really intimate details about my life, and she got into my relationship history. I had the last relationship I had gotten out of was a long one. It was a big one, and I really did not want to talk about it. Because if you've had like a really serious relationship before and you want to move on from it, the last thing you want to do is just talk about it. But she just kept asking me more questions and everything, and I'm like, you don't want to hear about all that. She's like, no, I really do. Because I don't know, I think that she was like trying to make this into a Pixie Dream Girl movie where I'm the like sad elfin guy that's like all mopey, and she's gonna bring me out of my funk by being so original and cool and caring. And she like takes me back to her place, and she just sits me down and still wants to talk about my old relationship. And I was at her place till like 1 a.m. and just talked about my ex the whole time. By the end, I was just angry because all I had been thinking about is this other person,
shitty relationship, and that you're not getting any.
Yeah, all these hurtful times that I'd had with this other person, and I'm just looking at this woman at this point, just being like, "Thanks a lot. You've like really ruined. Date aside, you have ruined my evening." By making me talk about this all night long. And, and she's all like, she's looking at me with big moon eyes like, oh my God, he's so full of feels. Wow. Oh, he's so sensitive. And I'm just like,
so apparently that's the kind of woman you tell that like you tried killing yourself.
Yeah, I think that she might have ate that up.
She really wandered in a spork knife.
I was just sort of like, yeah. And by the end of the night, I was just like, yeah, I'm out of here. And she was like, oh yeah, did you think you were staying? I don't even ever kiss on the first date. And I was just like, fuck off.
Well, that's a pretty rude ass thing to say too.
I know.
I wasn't making assumptions and I'm leaving, so thank you for being a bitch.
Yeah, that's like, goddamn right you're leaving.
Oh no, I am going home. But I'm like, yes, thank you for like churning my heart like butter, for 4 hours, and now I'm super upset and just like, I'm just gonna go home and look up pictures of my ex on Facebook. Thank you very much. This is gonna be a great evening for me.
Wow,
goodbye.
She's having a wonderful time too.
Look at how great she's doing.
Ruined your eating, made you feel like you don't want to be alone. Yeah, go ahead, leave. I don't even kiss on the first date.
Oh, so that's sad and depressing, but probably not sad enough. So let's go on to some guaranteed sadness. Eric, what's your sad story?
Oh boy, I wasn't ready for this, but I met a girl dating online, and so I asked her like, "Hey, you doing anything this Saturday night? And you want to go get a drink with me? That'd be cool." So we went out to a bar, and she's like, hey, so I'm hanging out with my friend tonight, but you could come along. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's fine. Because obviously every girl that dates a guy online, it seems like, has to make sure that she has somebody along that I'm not an ex-murderer.
Yeah, yes. So you're not going to try and wear them.
That's totally fine that you bring a friend when we first meet up. That's totally fine. But we got to the bar, and I was texting her. I was like, okay, I'm on my way. And I get to the bar, and I get in there and I look around for anybody that looks like the person that said that they were on the internet, and I find them right up by the bar, and I'm like, "Hey, are you Jessica?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Hey, I'm Eric." And she's like, "Oh, okay."
Oh no!
She gives me this like look up and down and goes, "Oh, okay." Like, okay, so this dating site didn't have the place where you put in your height anywhere. So she just assumed that I wasn't 5'7".
Oh no! She's probably like 6'5" or something.
So a 5'7" guy walks up to her and goes, "Hey, are you Jessica?" And she goes, yeah.
Apparently, she has must be this tall to ride this ride.
Yeah. So that's how it starts, and we get to the table, and it's me and her friend, and I'm trying to talk to her, and she just like won't talk to me. So then her friend is very talkative, and all she wants to do, this was like about a year ago, and she was currently a PA on Michael Bay's Transformers 4.
Oh my
or
God.
whatever.
Oh God.
Wait.
The one that filmed in Detroit.
I might know that girl.
Maybe.
I might know that friend.
Maybe. But she was a PA on that movie, and she was like, and all she wanted to do all night is tell me all these stories about Michael Bay. And I'm just like,
was she blonde?
No, she was brunette. She was short, thin brunette. I don't remember her name, but I remember Jessica's name because I was trying to date her. But the short, thin brunette seemed like a great time because she actually wanted to talk to me. But every time I wanted to talk to Jessica, she just like would give me these one-word answers that were just like, oh my God, how am I doing this? So eventually it carries along. I'm talking to her friend for the most of the night. And then her and her friend are supposed to go to another bar. So her friend's like, "Hey, do you want to come with us to another bar?" And I was like, "Sure, why not?" So we get to the other bar, and finally, I guess Jessica has enough drinks in her that she can finally like open up and speak words to me. And Jessica just proceeds to grill me on every single question that I answered in the dating questionnaire. Like, you said that you were into this, but not into this. Why? And so she just read my profile and read like the questionnaire, and it was like, and like wanted to grill me on all that. And I was like, I answered those all at once and didn't really think that hard about them. So obviously you're thinking much harder than I am about them. Yeah. So then the night ended, and we parted ways, and that was the end of it. There's no good end to this story. It's just Jessica didn't want to talk to me unless it was about the things that I answered that she didn't agree with.
She didn't want to talk to you unless it was to converse about how you let her down.
I guess. Yes.
Right. Only to communicate to convey her disappointment.
Yeah. Like it was. Like all I needed was the first second when I walked up to her and I go, "Hi, are you Jessica?" And then she like gives me the like look up and down, and then goes, "Yeah."
Oh man,
that's all I needed.
know.
Like I could have turned around and walked away right then, and everything would have been better.
Could you at least attempt to mask your contempt?
Right.
A little. Yeah, the friend sounded like she would have been a good time.
Oh no, she seemed great, but she kept talking about her boyfriend. So whatever.
Oh.
Hey, man. Look,
Oh man.
she's got a boyfriend. Soccer's got a goalie.
Yeah, they're not always the one to catch it.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going?
Yeah. I'm saying they both.
Sometimes one sneaks through. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm just saying. A ring
That's
don't plug a hole. Am I right?
Whoa.
Am I right?
Can't do it. The diamond's big enough.
That's true. The diamond's big enough.
So, another lesson in how reality isn't anywhere near as entertaining as the movies we watch. Chris, what have you got for us?
I don't really have a lot of first date stories. Like most of them, I just...
Wah, wah.
Okay. most of mine are just like, oh, well, that was kind of just nothing, to like, nothing really story worthy, It's like, I can remember one date, I don't remember what the deal was, but for some reason she ended up driving, and she's like, oh yeah, I like to drive fast, and so we're taking an on-ramp in a fucking like sunfire at like 90 miles an hour, and I just think we're gonna die.
Oh jeez.
And I'm like, driving fast and driving like you want to fucking die, totally different things. Well, and I don't, like I said, I'm kind of like, I think we went and got coffee at like a Beaner's, which is kind of funny because we're at Beaner's and I get a call from somewhere and I'm having to like step out and take it because it was a friend who was having like a mental crisis or some sort of emotional crisis or something like that. I'm like, this is bad timing. She's like, well, who is that? I'm like, yeah, it was my sister because it was a female friend and I didn't want to like blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you only have one sister? I'm like, fuck, that's right. You know that. Well, it's a really close friend, but I think of her as a little sister. And that was true. But okay, so that was fine. And I think we went and saw a movie because thinking of the area we were in, that's the only thing we could have been doing. And like South Lansing, there were only a couple things to like really hit up. And we ended up going, the restaurant, I can't think of what the hell it's called at the moment. But like it was so cramped. Like all the tables were so tight, like against other tables that like you could barely sit at a table when no one was sitting at the next table kind of thing. So we get seated and I'm like, I can't be here. Like, cause like I start getting like anxiety.
Yeah.
Like,
I get that exact same thing, man.
I'm like, I feel so closed off. And like, so the whole thing, it went as, this is one of those things, like the date honestly went as stupid and terrible as it could have. Like I probably screwed up as much as everything as possible, especially considering we were at a sit down restaurant and then I'm going to get fast food because I couldn't deal with that restaurant. But the funny part about it is that I still got
pizza.
So that's the story of I screwed up everything I possibly could have screwed up and still got
pizza.
So I'm just saying it can happen.
Okay, so that's not a worst first date because
no. Well, that's what I was saying. Like
with getting McDonald's by myself.
But no. That's what's funny about it. It's like everything I could have done wrong, I did wrong, and somehow it didn't work the way it probably should have logically.
Well, fuck you, you lose.
Yeah. No, I agree. I lose. I just wanted to say that Chris got
pizza.
All right, so I met this girl like online again, and she looked really cute in her profile, and we actually like talked, and we talked on the phone first. So it seemed everything seemed kosher. And
really?
Well, anyway, go out on like a first date, and it's like okay, but she doesn't really seem to be. I find out later that pretty much she was just basically incredibly self-conscious, and that's why she felt like she wasn't interested at all. But like she calls me back like after the date and is like, I wasn't even going to like go for it at the end because she didn't seem interested at all, but she still was like, aren't you gonna kiss me or something? I was like, okay. So she calls me like the next day and I was like, okay, well, I guess we can go on another date. And my friend Sean at the time had like extra tickets. He had extra tickets to go see Power Man 5000.
Oh, in case he wanted to know what it was like when worlds collide.
Yeah, I had no idea, so I needed to find out what it was like.
What is that like? Even
it's like you go to Popeyes and your friends make the normal jokes that they would make, and your date gets really pissed off because she feels that the jokes are childish. Not even like offensive in the slightest way, just like things like, what's, hey, if I was in SpongeBob, I think I would be Mr. Krabs. Who would you? I think James would be Patrick. Ha ha ha. Who do you think his date would be? I don't know. Ha 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 ha. Who do you think you would be, James's date? I'm really offended, and you guys are stupid, and I'm going to act all huffy all night. Like, and
my dad was killed by SpongeBob.
Yeah.
Over the line.
It wasn't even SpongeBob. It was something even more banal than that. But yeah, she gets all huffy, and so immediately, like before we even go into the concert, I stop and I'm like, "You want me to take you home? Because you seem to be having a really bad time." And she was like, instantly apologizing and being like, no, I'm sorry. I'm in a bad mood because something else, blah, blah, blah. And she was fine the rest of the night. We ended up like going home, and because of the living situation, I didn't have, let's say, the necessary precautions on hand.
Oh, brother.
And
oh boy.
so it was like one of those things where I would have to like go into another person's room to grab it. And so I was like, well, maybe tomorrow they might be asleep. I don't know. It would kind of kill the mood if I went down to the store at this point. And she was all about it. I was a little bit wary considering how things were going so far. And I was like, well, let's just talk for a little while. And we started talking. And then she started talking about how all the Jews left the World Trade Center before the attacks on 9/11.
Whoa. Twist.
And that's when I realized it was not worth waking up my roommate to grab those things. And
you can just say condom, dude.
Yeah, condom. Yeah, so the next day I ended up breaking up with her, but that wasn't enough for her. She kept on like calling my phone and nonsense and stuff like that. And she found my mom's address. And even though she knew I was a nerd and into nerd stuff, she sent to my mom, addressed to me, sword. And I am not a sword guy, but my mom saw the sword, and my mom got scared, and she said, "You're moving with your auntie in the town Bel Air. And I whistled for a cab, and when it came near, my license plate was fresh, and there was dice in the mirror. If anything, I could say that this cab was rare, but I thought, nah, forget it. Your home's to Bel Air. Up to the house, about 7 or 8. The cab. Your home, later. Sit on my keys, and I'll there. Sit on my throne, I'm the Prince of Bel Air."
I can't believe that just happened.
Everything up until the sword was true, but
that was a really good transition.
She took it fairly cordially, the breakup.
Well, that's good.
However, about a month later, her sister hit me up on the same dating website wanting to go out with me.
Wow.
That one's not really on you.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, did you?
Actually, no. I figured that maybe Jew hate might run in the family.
It usually does, it seems like. Why else would anybody hate another group of people? Right?
Yeah, you learn that behavior.
Yeah.
Well, I have a feeling, I mean, we had some fairly decent stories, but nothing that was really socks knocking off of. And I kind of have the sneaking suspicion that may be because of the fact that maybe we're everyone's worst first dates.
Oh, no.
Maybe we don't have too many great worst first date stories because we are the bad guys.
I know I have been the crazy clingy guy before. Like, I've been the crazy one. It hasn't always been the other person. I've been the crazy one.
Yeah, I have taken a girl to Burger King on a first date.
You gotta class it up. At least go to Wendy's.
But I ended up dating her for 2 years, so it couldn't have been that bad, right?
I mean, thank God you got her the double whopper. Spared no expense.
So, for those of you who might think that I'm being completely arbitrary in my choice, you are completely correct here. Because my choices are I have hippie pixie chick, Shorty McShortison, Where Are the Other Dwarves? Start off with Lying Spaghetti Panic Attack and Nazi SpongeBob Massacre. That's what I have. So, we're gonna bring it down to a coin toss here. Okay, so Colin, heads or tails?
Heads.
It's tails. Eric, you are the winner.
All right.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Well, guys, I have never, ever seen a Woody Allen movie, ever in my life. But for feelsbuary, I would like to watch Annie Hall, because I've heard it's great.
This one's for Todd.
Yes, this is for Todd. Oh, man.
No, it wasn't for Todd, it's for me.
Yes, Annie Hall, and we are all very tired and we're all going to bed. So, That's right, folks. Dinner. Next week, it is Annie Hall. We are going to be watching the Woody Allen. This is another Best Picture winner, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
Getting classy up in this motherfucker.
So stay tuned for next week when we watch Annie Hall and we make Chris cry.
Good night, everybody.
You can listen to our podcast on iTunes, the Stitcher app, or directly on our website. Feel free to send us a movie review suggestion. You'll have an equal chance of getting chosen for next week's movie review. You can reach us through social media, either by liking our Facebook page, John Hates Movies, or following our Twitter at John Hates Movies. Our music was composed by Kevin MacLeod. You can find this track and many more on his website, incompetech.com. Thanks for listening, and tune in next week to hear someone say,
Lansing declared a snow emergency, and Ingham County government stuff is closed. I don't think,